At the Christmas party, my parents gave everyone presents except my children. "We don't welcome them," said Mom. We calmly went, and I stopped paying for their repairs. After a week, it was the usual Christmas routine. My parents invited the whole family over to their house like they did every year. I wasn't particularly excited about it, but with family, sometimes you just go through the motions. My wife Jenna and I packed up the kids Emma and Ryan and made the drive over. Everyone was there: my older sister Amanda and her kids, a bunch of cousins, aunts, uncles, the whole crew. At first, everything seemed normal. Christmas music playing, kids running around, everyone catching up. My parents had gone all out with the decorations. The tree sparkled with lights and ornaments from our childhood. For a while, it felt like we were part of something good, a real family moment. Then came the gift exchange. The kids were excited. Especially Emma, she's 6, so she still believes in all that magic. I saw her eyes light up every time a cousin ripped through the wrapping paper. The gifts kept coming, one after another. Amanda's kids got brand new tablets. The cousins' kids got bikes and games and drones. One of my uncles even got a watch. Then silence. Jenna and I waited, but nothing came for our kids. Emma and Ryan just sat there, confused. Emma looked around, then up at me, her smile fading. Ryan kept asking, "Where are we?" It hit me like a punch in the gut. I turned to my mom. "Hey, did you forget the kids' presents or something?" I tried to keep my tone light. My mom crossed her arms and gave me that cold look. "We didn't forget," she said. "We didn't get them anything. We didn't congratulate them." I blinked, thinking I had misheard. "Excuse me? What do you mean, you're not congratulating them?" She didn't blink. "They're just like you. Ungrateful and entitled." Emma's face fell and tears welled up in her eyes. Jenna immediately hugged her and whispered something to calm her. Ryan looked like he was about to cry as well, but he held back, trying to be brave for his big sister. All around us, the room fell into an awkward, heavy silence. No one spoke. No one stood up for us. Amanda looked away, pretending not to notice. My cousins exchanged glances, but said nothing. It was as if everyone had expected this, as if it was just another family drama they didn't want to get involved in. Jenna squeezed my arm and whispered, "Steve, let's just go. It's not worth it." For a moment I wanted to explode, but I didn't. I forced myself to stay calm. I looked directly at my mother and said, "Okay. We're going." We bundled up the kids, grabbed our coats, and walked out the door. I slammed it behind me and the sound echoed through the neighborhood. I couldn't think straight on the drive home. My parents had done a lot of hurtful things over the years, but this was the next level. It wasn't just me anymore. They were hurting my children. Emma was still sniffling in the back seat, asking why Grandma and Grandpa didn't love her. How do you even answer that? I replayed the last few months in my head. There had been tension. They had wanted me to buy them a new house because their current one apparently wasn't good enough anymore. I told them no, but offered to pay for major renovations instead. I had workers redo the entire second floor, new plumbing, electrical, walls, everything. It had already cost me $21,000, and it wasn't even finished. But it wasn't enough for them. It never was. I gripped the steering wheel. They wanted to pretend I was the problem? Fine. They could make their own repairs now. Come New Year's, I'd cancel everything. This wasn't over. The morning after the Christmas party, I woke up still seething. Jenna and the kids were asleep, but I couldn't rest. I kept hearing Emma's voice. "Why don't they love me?" It crushed me. I had to do something. I grabbed my cell phone and called Frank, the contractor handling my parents' renovation. "Hey Frank, I'm canceling the project," I said. "Tell your crew they'll be done after New Year's." There was a pause. Are you sure about that? Your parents won't be happy. Let them call me," I replied. After that, I finally felt some control over the situation. But it didn't last long. Around noon, the calls started coming in. Amanda was first, but I let her go to voicemail. Then my dad. Same thing. Finally, Mom's name came up, and I relented. "You're canceling the renovation?" she demanded, skipping all the formalities. "You heard me," I said. "I'm done." She launched into a tirade about how irresponsible and selfish I was being. "We have the entire second floor torn up. How can you just leave us hanging like this?" I was unfazed. "Maybe you should have thought about that before you treated my kids like garbage. You crossed the line, and I'm not going to bend over backwards for you anymore." "Stop being so dramatic," she snapped. "Your children need to learn that they will not be rewarded for bad behavior, just like you." I laughed bitterly. "Right. Teaching them a lesson by humiliating them on Christmas. Real classy. Goodbye, Mom." I hung up. In the evening, Amanda showed up at the house, which took me by surprise. I opened the door and saw that she wasn't there for a friendly visit. "You can't just leave her like that, Steve," she said, walking in without waiting for an invitation. I sighed. "Oh, here we go. Let me guess you're here to tell me to listen to them, right? I'm here because they're freaking out. The second floor is uninhabitable and they don't know what to do." "Not my problem," I said. "You saw what they did to Emma and Ryan. They crossed the line." Amanda hesitated for a moment. "Look, I know it was harsh, but that's just Mom. She doesn't mean half the things she says." "Not good enough," I shot back. "They're your parents too, Amanda. But you're the golden child. They helped you through your divorce, but all I get is demands and insults. I've been paying for these renovations. Over 20 grand already, and they still act like I owe them everything." Amanda sighed. "They're set in their ways, Steve. You have to be the bigger person." "I'm done being the bigger person," I said firmly. We stared at each other in silence. Finally, she gave up, shook her head, and left. A few days later, I got a surprise from another corner of the family. Chris, one of my cousins, called me out of the blue. "Hey man, I heard about what happened," he said. "I just wanted to check in. That's pretty fucked up what they did to your kids." I didn't expect him to take my side. "Yeah, it was brutal. I'm done with them. Honestly, I don't blame you. They've been pulling this crap for years. My mom told me that your parents think you owe them for everything they did for you when you were younger. But man, you've already paid that debt and then some." It felt good to hear someone else say that. Over the next few days, more cousins came forward with similar sentiments. Apparently my parents had been gossiping about me for a while, but not everyone was buying their version of the story. Then Amanda stirred things up again. This time she brought in some of our aunts and uncles and turned it into a full-blown family debate. Half the family thought I was right to stand my ground, while others, especially those closer to my parents, argued that I was being vindictive. The pressure was mounting, but I wasn't about to back down. The lines were being drawn. It didn't take long for my parents to escalate things. A few days after Amanda's visit, my dad called me. For a moment, I thought he was calling to apologize. Maybe there was a shred of decency left in him. But I was wrong. "We need to talk," he said. His voice was cold, almost rehearsed. "About what?" I asked, already knowing where this was going. "The renovations. You can't just leave us like this. We need you to get things back on track." I sighed. "I already told Mom. I'm done. You can hire someone else." Dad didn't take the bait. He remained eerily calm. "If you go through with this, there will be consequences, Steve." "Consequences?" I repeated in disbelief. "Yes," he said. "You think you can disrespect your family like this without consequences? Fine. If you're not going to take responsibility, we're not going to be a part of your life. And that includes Emma and Ryan. You want to play hardball? We'll disown them." For a few seconds I couldn't even answer. Did he really just say that? Disown my children, their own grandchildren, because I wouldn't keep spending money on them? "That's your play?" I finally said, my voice dangerously calm. "You're going to punish two innocent children to get back at me?" You think that'll make me back down? It's not a threat, Steve. It's a reality, he replied coldly. We're rewriting the will. You and your kids won't get a dime from this family. I laughed bitterly. Oh, so this is about money now? You think I care about your will? I'm the one who paid for everything, your house, your renovations. What do you think I want from you anyway? You'll regret this, he said before hanging up. That was it. They'd crossed the last line. If they wanted to turn this into a war, I was ready to fight. The next morning I acted. There was one thing I had leverage over. The joint account I'd opened years ago to help my parents manage their expenses. I'd put a lot of my own money into it over time, money they'd used without a second thought. I logged into the account, transferred the entire balance to my personal account, and closed it. It wasn't an impulsive decision. That money was mine, and I wasn't going to let them use it as a weapon against me. Within hours, the fallout began. My mother called, and for once she didn't sound cold and angry. She sounded panicked. Steve, what did you do? I took my money back, I said matter-of-factly. Why, you can't just take it all? That account was for the family. No, Mom, I corrected her. That account was my money. I opened it to help you, but I'm done being your bank. You wanted me out of your life, didn't you? Well, congratulations. Now you're on your own, she stammered, trying to find the right words. You don't understand. We have bills to pay. The contractors, Not my problem. I cut in. Figure it out. I hung up, and it wasn't long before Amanda called again. Steve, you're making it worse, she said. Mom's crying. Dad's furious. They say you emptied the bank account. Yep. And I'm not putting a dime back in, I replied. Come on, Amanda sighed. They're scared, Steve. They don't know how they're going to finish the repairs. Maybe they should have thought about that before they threatened to disown my kids, I said sharply. Amanda was silent for a moment. They said that? Yes. That's how far they're willing to go to get their way. Do you still think I should listen to them? She didn't have an answer. Finally, she just mumbled something about talking to our parents and hung up. The next day I heard from Chris again. He talked to some of our other cousins, and apparently the story was spreading fast. Most of them were now on my side. They saw how toxic things had become, and were disgusted with how my parents were acting. Dude, you're a legend, Chris said over the phone. You're finally standing up to them, and honestly, it's about time. But not everyone saw it that way. Some of the older relatives, especially those who relied on my parents for favors, began to turn against me. I received a passive-aggressive message from Aunt Carol saying that I was tearing the family apart, and that I needed to make peace for the sake of the children. Funny how no one cared about my children on Christmas, I thought bitterly. This wasn't just a family argument anymore. It was turning into a full-blown civil war, and I wasn't backing down. The tension reached a breaking point when my father left me a voicemail that evening. You've done enough damage, Steve, he growled in the recording. You think you're going to make us suffer? We'll see how you like it when the whole family knows what kind of man you are. You're selfish, ungrateful, and you'll regret this for the rest of your life. He hung up without waiting for an answer. I played the message twice and shook my head. I was done with the guilt trips and manipulation, but I knew this was going to escalate. And it did. The next day, Jenna's phone started buzzing with messages from Amanda and some of the other relatives who'd taken my parents' side. Apparently, my dad had been calling around, spinning the story his way. In his version, I had cruelly abandoned them and stolen the money intended for family support. Of course, he left out the part where they had humiliated my children and threatened to disown them. Jenna scrolled through the messages and sighed in frustration. Steve, this is getting ugly. They're telling people you left them in financial ruin. Let them talk, I muttered. The people who know the truth will stay with us. The rest? I don't care anymore. Still, the situation bothered me. Emma and Ryan noticed something was wrong. Emma asked, Are Grandma and Grandpa mad at us? I hugged her and told her, "No, honey. They're just having a hard time understanding things right now." It wasn't the whole truth, but I didn't want to burden them with the ugly details. Meanwhile, my cousin's support continued to grow. Chris called again, this time with some surprising news. "Hey, so a bunch of us are talking about pitching in to help with the renovations your parents need," he said. "We're not doing it for them, really. We just want to make sure they can't use it against you anymore." I was stunned. "Wait, you're serious? Why would you do that?" "Because we're tired of the drama," Chris said. "Your parents have been playing these games with the whole family for years. It's not just you. They've been screwing other people, too, just in smaller ways. This is our way of saying, enough is enough." I didn't know what to say. For years I'd felt like the black sheep, the scapegoat. But now it was clear that I wasn't the only one who had had enough. Chris wasn't done yet. Oh, and by the way, Amanda's starting to crack. I think she's realizing how messed up this is. Give her time. I wasn't holding my breath, but it was still nice to hear. Then the unexpected happened. 2 days later, my parents called again. This time it wasn't an angry, demanding call. It was different. Mom left a voicemail, and for once, she sounded shaken. "Steve, it's your mom. Please, can we talk? We're sorry things got so out of hand. Your dad and I, we're scared. We're in over our heads. We need your help. Please call me back." I played the message twice, trying to process it. Was this real? Or was this another manipulation tactic? I wasn't sure, but I wasn't in any hurry to call her back. Later that night, Amanda texted me. "Amanda, they're crying, Steve. You're scared. They don't know what they're going to do without you." I stared at the screen, conflicted. Part of me wanted to feel satisfied. They'd finally realized they couldn't push me around anymore. But another part of me, the part that still wanted to believe in family, felt a pang of guilt. Jenna noticed me staring at my phone and put a hand on my shoulder. "You don't have to make any decisions right now," she said gently. "Take your time." I nodded. For now, I had to let them stew. They'd gotten themselves into this mess, and it was time they learned what it felt like to face the consequences. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. I spent the next few days thinking things over. I knew that if I caved now, I'd just be giving my parents more power over me. They'd learn nothing. They'd keep walking all over me, and worse, they'd think they could hurt my kids whenever it suited them. But I wasn't about to let that happen. I reached out to my lawyer and explained the situation. Over the years, I'd helped my parents manage various financial accounts, including some investments tied to the house renovations. Technically, I had rights to these assets, given how much of my own money was invested. My lawyer confirmed that I could legally revoke my involvement and block their access. So, I did exactly that. I closed all shared accounts, froze my contributions to their mortgage payments, and pulled my name off any joint assets. I didn't leave them penniless, but I made sure they wouldn't have access to any more of my money. To put the final nail in the coffin, I sent them a letter, through my lawyer, informing them that all financial support from me was officially terminated. Word spread fast. My parents were panicking, calling everyone in the family to try and rally support. But by now, most of the cousins and extended family had caught wind of the truth. People like Chris, who had quietly endured my parents' manipulations for years, were openly siding with me. Even Amanda, who had tried to stay loyal to our parents, found herself increasingly isolated. The turning point came when she discovered that my parents had threatened to disown my kids. Chris told me she had confronted them in a heated argument, asking how they could stoop so low. "They're starting to lose everyone's respect," Chris told me over the phone. "The mask is slipping." I could tell my parents were desperate. When I didn't respond to their calls or texts, they did something I didn't expect. They showed up at my house. It was the first time I'd seen them since Christmas. Dad looked tired, like he hadn't slept in days. Mom seemed more nervous than angry, a rarity for her. "Steve, can we please talk?" she asked quietly when I opened the door. I didn't invite them in. Talk about what? I asked coldly. We were wrong, Dad said, swallowing his pride. We handled things badly. We shouldn't have said what we did. We hurt you and your family, and we're sorry. Mom chimed in. Please, Steve. We've lost control of everything. We can't finish the renovations, and the family's turning against us. We need you. I crossed my arms. Now you need me? After years of treating me like a second-class son? After making my kids cry on Christmas and threatening to cut them out of the family? They both winced. For once, they had no excuses. We were wrong, Mom repeated softly. We're asking for forgiveness. Forgiveness? I said, shaking my head. You're only here because you've hit rock bottom. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry it didn't work out the way you wanted. And honestly, it's too late. Dad's face tightened. Steve, don't do this. We're family. No, I replied firmly. Family doesn't treat each other the way you've treated me. I'm done being your puppet. From now on, you handle your own problems. And as for forgiveness? You're not getting it. Not now, not ever. With that, I shut the door in their faces. Over the next few weeks, the fallout continued. Amanda tried to patch things up, but I wasn't interested. She'd chosen their side when it mattered most, and I couldn't trust her anymore. Some relatives who had initially supported my parents backed off entirely, realizing how toxic things had become. Others, like Aunt Carol, stayed loyal to them, but I didn't care. The divide was final. I focused on my own family, Jenna, Emma, and Ryan. We started building new holiday traditions that didn't involve my parents or their drama. I finally felt free. No more guilt, no more endless demands. One day, Jenna and I took the kids to the park, and I watched as Emma and Ryan laughed on the swings. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace. Chris summed it up best during one of our conversations. You did the right thing, man. Sometimes, cutting people off is the only way to protect your peace. You owe your kids a better legacy than the one your parents tried to give you. He was right. And as far as I was concerned, my parents were no longer a part of that legacy. They had made their bed. Now they had to lie in it. The war was over, and I'd won.